Okay, it's after Election Day 2012. Tom Coates, Army Brad, and Craig Robinson in the studio. We'll unpack it, and then we'll pack it all up, put it in a box, and throw it to the bottom of the ocean.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 3:04 on the 7th day of November in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Wednesday edition of The View from a Pew. I had to think for a minute. And Craig Robinson, our good friend and trusted colleague on the Republican side of the life, is in with us today, along with Army Brad and Tom Coates, and we're just going to do some unpacking of the elections last night. And I got to tell you something funny. This is a conversation you and I had driving home last night, Brad, didn't we? I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, if you believe in a sovereign God, then you got to believe that what happened yesterday was his will. And the thing that has been itching on the backside of my head lately is sometimes God has to allow us to fall before he can give us the strength to catch up, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, and do it right. I mean, I think about Jericho. 440 years plus 6 days. They sinned against God. They killed their born children. They had sex in temples. They had no God in them at all, and he told them, and he told them, and he told them. Then he sent the Israelites to march around Jericho 6 times, 6 days, and they still would not repent. And finally, God blew the horns, and the walls came tumbling down. Is God going to give America 440 years and then 6 days before he blows the trumpet? Is he going to allow us to be within our own debauchery of sex and abuse and clearly praising other idols such as cars, houses, bank accounts, 401ks, ESOPs, my building's bigger than your building, Mr. Ruan? Is that what he's going to bring us to till he finally brings us to the promised land? I don't know. I don't want to be a Bible freak, but you got to wonder. You got to wonder, because I don't think there's anybody in this room, and we can't include Father Tattoo, because there's an age limit of maturity here, and he's below that. But
I'm pretty sure I'm older than your guest.
Craig, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Good.
Going to be
He's
36.
got me by 4 years.
Yeah, see, 4 is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
There's no sense that this man got reelected unless you want something for free. Unless he's the Pied Piper handing out candy. And so let's get him back because he keeps giving me candy, right? I mean, Tom, I'll let you go first today. I know first? You got some notes.
I do have some things that I was probably in the same state as most of the listeners are. I suspect we're most of us in that same place. One of the comments I heard before the count even got started from O'Reilly was he, in a disdainful fashion, said people want stuff. And I think what you're saying, Mac, and what a lot of people are saying right now is that that's the case. I think that's certainly a big part of it. Here's what I believe, and I was cautioned by a fellow believer today to be careful where I say this, and I'm saying it in front of primarily a Christian audience at this point. At least I'm fairly confident that I am. And I believe in a God that is not just detached up there observing, but very actively involved in our lives, sometimes in a major way, sometimes in a less so way. I do think, as I look at the polls, that we had the momentum that up until about a week ago, we had things moving our way. Gallup, Rasmussen, a lot of the pollsters were showing Romney with a lead that was, and we had the momentum behind us. And then in comes what they call the perfect storm, Hurricane Sandy. Sandy comes in and changes the narrative dramatically, and the polls shift. And we'll talk to Craig about some of those, I'm sure, here in a little bit. And I was reminded of two scripture passages. One, it was in Matthew, is quoting Isaiah 29. They said that the peoples honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. That this nation is ostensibly a Christian nation by their verbiage, but even most of those that attend church are not biblically literate. They're not well read, they're easily deceived, and they're not really interested in following God's will for their lives. Also, the other one that came to my mind was Romans 1:24, and it talks about how God gave them over to their sinful desires. I believe that there is an excellent chance that God was involved in that hurricane that shifted this nation back, and I think He is giving us over to our sinful desires. Let's look at the type of groups that make up now what is called the Democrat Party. We've got unions, not so much the private unions because they're shrinking, but the public labor unions, where both on the state and the federal levels are paid far more than their private sector counterparts, and their union dues go back into feeding that Democrat monster that continues to pillage the public. They've got a group of feminists that make up this consortium. Where their holy grail is abortion and birth control. We saw the TV and radio ads. I thought these are not going to make any difference, but they did. And they knew all over the country that those radio and TV ads aimed at those young female feminists. They voted in numbers that were almost unprecedented for this guy. That's one of their animal rights wackos. Where they put the animal rights higher than humans. That's another contingent. The drug legalization crowd, that's another group. Minority groups on welfare in large numbers where food stamps and Obama phones are their holy grail. The greenies will trump even the private unions that's viewed in the Keystone Pipeline holdup there. They'll even trump some other minor constituencies because this group now believes that man-made global warming is the biggest threat, and they want cap and trade, an energy tax that will drive us into a next major depression and put us back into the horse and buggy days, all to save the planet. And a gay lobby with the indoctrination and the grail there of deviant marriage, and you've got the media and the education faculties in this country that facilitate all of this. The media propagates it, not only the news media, but the entertainment media. We've got an education group that is more credentialed but less literate, less educated, and has less knowledge than any time in our nation's history, and they've got an agenda. What do all these groups have in common? What does this whole thing come back around to? What do they want to do? They want to excise God. We saw it on display at the Democrat convention, where 3 times they had to take votes and never got the vote they wanted to excise God. Now, that was a manifestation of the innate commonality of these groups that otherwise have very little oftentimes in common, but they all want to get rid of God, and they all want to put the government, the big centralized government, ever growing, ever expanding, ever bankrupting, into the position of God. And as much as the communists had to take God out of their society when the Russians came in and took over and the Marxists fall, that was a competing entity that competed with the individual's allegiance. They had to excise God and the church from their society. These people feel threatened by a nation that is a ostensibly Christian nation, is increasingly secularized, and we are heading down a pipeline that will take us over the cliff. I think we may have reached the tipping point, and I know this sounds like sour grapes and a guy that's really discouraged, and to some degree I am, because I had hopes that we would be able to pull back. I don't know that we can now, and I'm hoping that God has given us up for a season to punish us, just as He did the nation of Israel, which proved so faithless as He brought them out with His miracles out of the nation of Egypt. and made them wander in the desert for 40 years, and then allowed the next generation to enter the promised land. I'm hoping that that's what he's doing, chastising us for a season and not abandoning us for good. That's my thoughts on today, Mac.
That was very well prepared. Very good. That was Tom Coates. Craig Robinson is in the studio today, as well as Army Brad, Father Tattoo, and I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. This is called The View from a Pew, and it's heard on the internet at any time at maxworldlive.com, macsworldlive.com, or theviewfromapew.com, and on 99.3 KTIA from 3 to 4 o'clock every afternoon Central Time. And Craig Robinson is Caffeinated Thoughts.
TheIowaRepublican.com.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about Shane.
Yep.
Right? Okay. TheIowaRepublican.com. Your thoughts. I mean, you have as much time as you need, and then we'll just start with conversation.
Sure. No, I think that
Brad, you're next. So.
Obviously, for Republicans, for conservatives, for most Christians, last night's results were hard to take, and it wasn't. I think I've talked to a lot of people starting last evening, and it wasn't the fact that Obama was simply reelected. It was how he was reelected and the margins that he was reelected by. The significance of what he did and what he accomplished is amazing to me. That we always pointed to the 2008 race in Iowa and across the country as kind of this, maybe the lowest point that we've seen in modern politics. But Barack Obama defeated Mitt Romney by a larger margin in Polk County than he defeated John McCain. And I cannot comprehend that. That is so far from what it felt like, what we witnessed, what we saw on the ground here, the reaction to Romney, that I can't even comprehend who these people are who voted. There's really, this loss leaves Republicans in the wilderness, and walking around without, much of any direction. And so the question is, and I think maybe the problem that Republicans experienced last night is, what is their long-term vision? I think we're a party that has ADHD, that we can't focus. And that so we can rally around little concepts like everyone kind of got on board with cut, cap, and balance, but that is a particular issue at a particular time. That is not something that you can run on and say this is the direction we want to take. You can't, we're not taking the country in a direction for the next 20 years on cut, cap, and balance. But that's our party. I mean, we focus on these little things and we get distracted and we run down these rabbit trails. I mean, this is a president of the United States whose economic numbers we all know, and they're dreadful, and yet he was reelected. But this is also a president that did not have to defend Obamacare on the campaign trail, did not have to defend his foreign policy decisions on the campaign trail, did not have to defend the deficit really all that much on the campaign trail. Okay, and to me, it is just shocking.
Whose fault is that he didn't have to defend it? Is that Mitt Romney's?
I think in large part it lies at Romney a little bit, because it is, we like to blame the media, but when you don't engage with the media, when you don't sit down there and grant interviews and try to message through them a coherent argument long term, then you are letting your opponent off the hook, because you're how else do you get your message out? Right. How do you we're conservatives are all upset. Well, why aren't we talking about Benghazi more? Well, it's because our nominee didn't talk about it. You have to make it newsworthy. Okay. And Romney took issue after issue after issue and didn't make it newsworthy. And he wanted to appeal to the center at the final month of this campaign, and in doing so, he stood for nothing. He ran away from more issues than he actually ran for. And I think that while I think there's an argument, and I understand what he was doing, but in the long term, Barack Obama's candidacy that focused on what a bad guy Mitt Romney was more detailed than what we were running on.
Craig Robinson, the Iowa Republican, is in the house. Tom Coates, Army Brad, and we'll be back live here on WebcastOneLive.com.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Have you ever been told you're not a good enough Christian? Well, we have too. Join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. Now here's your host, president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, we are back. It's 21 minutes after 3 on the 7th day of November in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republican.
.com, yep.
.com is in the house. Tom Coates with, well, he's just him. All by himself. He's just like a mighty giant, just tromping through, cutting up your credit cards. Army Brad in the booth, and Father Tattoo. Army Brad, these guys had their chance to kind of voice their wrap-up of the election yesterday. What are your thoughts?
Well, they're much deeper in it than I ever want to be. And my thoughts were, when I saw the initial stuff coming in and it was not looking good, I took a break and pulled out the good book and started reading, and then it helped me quite a bit, because it reminded me to turn my perspectives around, and I put God first, then family, and then community, local community, which is more important in the big picture than what happened yesterday. And then I thought, well, you know, if it's in that priority, well, that's too bad. If my family's good, if my extended family's good, and I'm good with God, then okay. So these people made a bad choice, and they make bad choices all the time, and they will pay the consequence of it, and I will take care of my family. The people in this room are not going to be affected by it. The people that voted him in are the ones that are suffering the most under this president. So they're just asking to be suffering for another 4 years.
You really don't think we're going to be affected by it?
We will be, but we won't be affected the way the young black males are going to be affected, because they have unemployment twice as high as the national average. But they voted 99% for the man.
Brad, look at the women. I mean, the young women voted in large numbers. I mean, at one point we thought we had the women almost even, and then, again, things happened.
On if they were married
but
or
they
not.
have been more hurt with unemployment.
Absolutely.
Disproportionately, and yet they voted for this guy as if he was their sugar daddy.
Absolutely, and people make bad choices all the time.
They're not worried about employment, but they sure want somebody to give them birth control and promise them abortion.
And I think part of the problem was that there was, with Romney, he never made a clear enough, at least in my opinion looking back, definition of what was going on. He wasn't saying, we're not stopping you from getting birth control, we're stopping the federal government paying for it. I never heard him actually say that. And maybe it was ran somewhere, but in the bigger picture, it wasn't something that was clear. And they were always talking about how he's flip-flopping. I mean, Dan was happy to point that out. But if he may have been able to express definitively where he stood on these things and made it clear to people. And if you're a 21-year-old girl and you have something that you think is free and it's not, and you don't realize it, and they don't explain to you, no, you can still get your birth control. It's just that the federal government is not going to pay for it. You can still get it. And I think they were actually scared, and scared people make foolish decisions.
I actually think we're giving a little too much credit to the electorate today. I don't think they ever sat, hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think they ever sat down and went through the issues and thought about it that deep.
I don't think,
because I fear that anymore that the discussions in our at least our national presidential elections are decided on marketing and cultural issues, not issues such as abortion and those things, but issues as in
he looks cool.
Who's cooler?
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you were a supporter of Obama, and this is the way he got a lot of people into the fold. You know, there was Bon Jovi concerts in Iowa. There was Bruce Springsteen in Iowa. There was Jay-Z in Iowa. And so if you're a young person, and I know, hey, they all want handouts. We all want something for free, right? Well, he also gave them concerts. He also gave them, oh, look at me, I'm hip, I'm cool, versus corporate Mitt Romney. And so I'm not upset that Romney didn't bring in better entertainment, because I don't think that would work. But look, his first election,
he brought the Osmonds. He's got an in.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see Ricky Skaggs in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very good, but I appreciate lots of different genres of music. But I think we overlook it sometimes too, where I don't think we're having these deep enough conversations when it comes out to who to vote for, because it was cool and they did it, and they did it again.
Did we pass up the winner in the primaries? Did we goof up?
It's hard to know, but I will say this: Mitt Romney was not the type of candidate that I think Republicans were looking for. I think they wanted a fighter, and I think they wanted someone to go toe to toe and challenge. I think they wanted a candidate that, regardless of what issue sprouted up in the general election, that they would take a stand and comment on it. And have a clear difference probably with the President of the United States. And I think the two candidates that I think would have done that would have been Rick Santorum, who was Romney's biggest competitor down the stretch, and probably Newt Gingrich.
Although Gingrich would have had so many bones in the closet that he would
I
never
agree with,
gotten past
I agree with that, but I'm
ads,
saying I think they want that kind of
person
to have that intellectual
challenge. Didn't we see that
challenge.
Romney in the first debate?
Yeah,
Craig?
I was just going to say that.
Didn't we see the Romney, and that Romney came to play in the first debate and then kind of melted away?
Well, I think the Romney in the first debate was excellent, and he was himself as well, which I think you have to be. But I think he got a little too comfortable, and then he put it on auto control,
or played prevent defense is another way
defense,
to
and then all of a sudden the Romney campaign wanted to look presidential. Well, no one's going to outlook, the president of the United States like someone wanting to be the president of the United States like the actual president of the United States who shows up in an airplane. That's all decked out. So that strategy was wrong. I think I could nitpick the Romney campaign to, next Tuesday, 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't think that's useful. I mean, I think there was a lot of errors made, but, there was just, again, there's so many issues that he kind of turned his back on because he wanted to appeal to the center and to the middle. This is a guy who ran what, some of these social conservatives would call a pro-choice ad in a battleground state like Iowa. What does that do to your base? Technically, I would say it's not a pro-choice ad, but it was a, hey, I'm not a big bad social conservative ad. And I think that turns people off.
Because they were trying to appeal to this young women vote that I talked about earlier.
And they were trying to appeal to people who weren't going to vote for him. And that's the problem candidates make.
Well, and we could talk about this. On one issue, and I'm kind of assuming that most people know about the Hurricane Sandy and the Governor Chris Christie, how much of an impact does Christie have on this, and what price does he pay in the Republican Party for perhaps what might have been a pivotal issue?
I think he's going to get it's going to haunt him, but I honestly don't think there's anything that he could do differently.
Just because he said he did a good job?
Yeah.
Gave him the bear hug, made him look presidential. The other mayors and governors didn't want him around. Chris Christie was about the only one that invited him in and allowed him to look presidential in front of all the media.
But in Christie's defense, he had to get the funding that his state needed.
Oh, he had to prostitute himself to the point that he went out of his way, gave him the bear hug and all.
Well, no, he didn't have to go that far.
Is a governor a prostitute? I mean, is that his role?
Well, no. I understand that point and that frustration, but I don't think that Chris Christie did anything that other governors wouldn't have done either.
You don't think so? Or what about his speech at the convention, Craig? His speech at the convention was much more full of himself than it was trying to help Romney out.
You're talking about an American politician, and I'm saying
others talk more about Romney than less about themselves.
That Barack Obama standing next to Chris Christie was political, and Chris Christie letting him stand next to him was also political. And everyone looks out for their own selves.
But many of the speeches that I heard at the convention were more about Romney. Christie's was nearly all about himself.
If you go back to, even if you look at Rick Santorum's speech, there was other speeches. Even Marco Rubio's speeches were all more about themselves than about Romney. That was the criticism of the Republican convention. But the Hurricane Sandy thing, the frustrating thing for me is that Obama showed up on day one and said, look, we're going to use military assets to make sure you can go to work. And we're going to do everything we can. He talked big day one. And then day two, there's gas lines and people dumpster diving for food and all this stuff. And what's the media do?
Yeah.
We don't see anything. It's horrible.
Let's go to the phone real quick. Guys, jump your headphones on. John, you're live on right in the middle there, Tom.
Yeah.
This box. Tom or John. John, you're live on the radio. How you doing?
Pretty good, Mac. How are you doing?
Good, sir. Go ahead with a question or comment.
Hey, I just think this comes down to they just didn't want it enough. I got more calls and saw more activity during the primaries than I did during the elections. They did not get on the ground. They did not slug this out. They did not go knocking on doors. They didn't go out and push it like a high school football team, on a Friday night, who just digs into that ground game and tears them up on the ground. That way they can throw the big passes and make good numbers.
So you don't think Romney wanted it bad enough?
I don't think they fought hard enough for it.
I would agree to an extent, but I would say Republicans generally do not want it hard enough to work that hard.
I won't disagree with that. I live very close to the airport.
But on the other side, Republicans have jobs they have to go to, too.
Yeah, but
we hire people to do this stuff.
Yeah. I live out close to the airport, and I've seen Obama signs. I've seen those folks out and about. They've been knocking on my doors. They've been out and about. The first time I saw Romney was when Obama came into town. We got a few people together. We put some signs out just so that Obama could see it when his plane landed. It just doesn't seem to me that they just put their back into it.
Here's my complaint, and this is a little bit nitpicky, but we know where the battlegrounds lie in this state long before the election comes. I mean, I'm talking 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance. And so I don't know why Republicans don't look at the map and say this is territory that we should own, that is favorable to us, and we will win here. And you know what? We'll make that decision now, and we don't even know who our candidate is going to be. But this is territory we own, and we're going to start working on it early. We wait. I mean, we sit. I don't know what these victory people were doing. They're knocking on doors. They're making phone calls. They're doing all this stuff, right? But then they're not canvassing and pushing people to early vote. They're not doing any of that. I don't get what the effort is before September.
Well, it's what John said. They wanted it more. Thanks for your call, John. I appreciate it. Calls are always welcome. 244-0077. Here's the other thing. I thought that either Romney did a bad job or Obama did an amazing job of defining Mitt Romney.
Oh.
Romney didn't do a very good job of telling us who he was, and Obama did an excellent job of telling him who he wanted you to think Romney was.
But you know who else helped in defining Mitt Romney? Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry. I mean, that is the problem with Romney the whole way. I mean, we defined this. I mean, this was not the guy most people wanted. I mean, he won, and he won a primary process, but how did he win? He won it by destroying his opponents with TV ads. And then when the general election comes and he needs this is a guy who never built up personal relationships with anyone.
Yeah.
This is a guy who won by attacking his opponents and then got beat because his opponent attacked him.
All right, we're taking a break. We'll come back. We'll continue this conversation. Tom Coates, Army Brad, Craig Robinson right here live on WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
if you sit in the back pew or the front pew. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
3:38:22 before the top. Salem Radio Network news, and then True Blue, hosted by Michael Mudloff. Craig Robinson, the IowaRepublican.com in the house. Tom Coates in the house. Army Brad, Father Tattoo. We're talking about what else? Yesterday, the elections. And you wanted to make a comment on something that Craig had said.
Yeah, Craig had earlier said that the attacks that his primary opponents were giving him were echoed by Barack Obama. And I said, with totally different atmosphere in the primary, where this evil rich guy, this corporate raider, that doesn't play in the Republican primaries, because I don't want to say smarter than, but that's not the mentality of the Republican, especially the ones that are actively engaged in caucuses and primaries. They're more sophisticated than that. Let me say it this way.
Well, we all aspire to have wealth and all of that if you're a conservative.
But if you look at the electorate, by and large, at least the ones that make up the backbone of the Democrat Party, and some of the independents and some of the moderates out there, that seemed to play surprisingly well. I kept seeing this commercial, guys, late in the session, and I've done 40 TV commercials, so I appreciate good spots. I thought this was a horrible spot. These people talking about how Bain had dumped them out and they built their own grave, and I said, who does this play to? This is stupid. Apparently they know their audience much better than I did, and Romney, it apparently did play to their audience.
But Romney never responded to it. It's just like all of these ads that say Mitt Romney paid less taxes than you did. Well, no, he didn't. He actually paid like $14 million in taxes. But Romney would never say it that way.
He never talked about it. They acted like the percent of 14% that he was paying on his taxes was analogous to what you and I pay on salaries. It's not. It was on money that had already been taxed. It was dividends. It was capital gains.
And why you wouldn't explain that is beyond me.
And I understand the lack of sophistication for the American public on economics. I probably better than most. Still, I think you make the case that this money has already been taxed, guys, and your own president, JFK, was the one that made the appeal back in the 60s for the need for capital gains tax cuts.
And all you need to do to make that point is, in the debate when this happened, you turn to Barack Obama and you say, okay, Mr. President, how much do you want to raise? What's the rate I should pay? And then is everyone going to pay that on their 401k? Is someone that only, because the rate's the rate, right? It's not just because, that's the rate on investments.
So, Craig,
he never made the point. He never fought back.
So, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but overall, the last 40 minutes, you've basically said Romney did it and do it very well.
No, he didn't.
Okay. I want to run through, and I'm going to document this. And I want to run through. I'm going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, about 10 questions about 2016 and see where we're at. And it's really not to hold you to what you're saying. That's not really the test. The test is to see if this country is what we think it's going to be in 16. Currently, we have a jobless rate of 7.9%. Tom, what do you think it'll be?
It probably will go up. Go get better for a while, but in 4 years, my guess is that we're at a rate. If it's a legitimate rate, the problem is we've got a higher number of percent of Americans unemployed today than perhaps we've ever had since the Great Depression, anyway. A legitimate number will show us we'll probably bounce for a little bit, and then we'll be far worse off by the time 2016 hits. And some people say, "Oh, that's good. Then Obama will take responsibility." And I have my doubts.
So what? 10%?
Still be Bush's fault, as many of the exit polls showed. Yeah, maybe 10%. We could go through some real hard times the next 4 year, guys. That involves a lot of debt, a lot of problems, and it could be much higher than we could even contemplate saying here 4 years from now.
7%.
7%. All right. Deficit.
Straight line.
Brad, I'm sorry.
Brad.
I was going to say that it'll be a little bit higher than it is now because he's pretty much kept it steady at a high number. So I'd say 8.3.
8.3. All right, deficit, guys. We're currently at what, 16 trillion?
16. We're on path, even if his projections are right, Mac, to head up to 20. If the House capitulates, as some people are saying they'll have to, and we could discuss that, it could even be far higher than that, and we could be over the cliff. Our ratings would be down to nothing, and the dollar will no longer be easily accepted.
22.
22. Brad?
I'm going to go with 20.
You know, Bradshaw and I did this last hour. You know what he said? He said 20. If we're lucky, 25. The higher, the better. Seriously, that's what he said.
Well, that's the level of economic illiteracy that we come to expect, especially amongst the liberals.
Healthcare costs, up or down?
Up.
Everybody up?
They went up today.
Lord, my corporate premiums, if we stay with the same company, are going to jump 40% next year.
Number of people on food stamps, it's currently 47 million. Tom, how many people on food stamps?
Well,
you can say higher.
He expanded it by 50% since he went in there. I mean, the higher the dependency level, and that is a key to his success and the Democrats' success, the higher the dependency level, and there's no easier gauge than food stamps, and our own Vilsack thinks that this is economic stimulus.
53.
Okay, well, what do you say, 60 then?
I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, I could throw a number out there, but it would be meaningless. At his current projection, you'd be 60.
53.
I'll go 57 just between the two of them because I want to know what the prize is in 4 years.
Number of people on welfare. I don't know what it currently is.
More.
It's 60. It's 60, isn't it? Somewhere like 56 or 60 million.
Yeah, it's going to be higher.
All right, so just everybody just say higher.
Yeah,
substantially higher.
Yeah, and that's how they increase the dependency and their votes.
Okay. Does Iran have a nuke at this time?
Yes.
Tom?
Certainly. They don't already.
Craig?
Easy, yes.
Well, you know what? Let me take that back because the question really should be is, do we go to the defense of Israel? Because Israel is going to be the driving factor of whether they have it, not us.
All right,
you
currently...
think they'll use it? You think they'll use it in the next 4 years? They're not questioning
Israel
whether they get
or
it.
Iran?
No, Iran. Will Iran use it in some fashion, either through terrorist surrogates or themselves?
Israel... the question really should be is Israel still here, and Israel will still be here, and Iran may have been nuked, but they won't have it.
They will test a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
In 4 years.
Debt to China. I'm told it's 8%. 8% of our debt comes from China. Anybody disagree with that number? And if so, what will it be in 4 years?
2% higher.
All right, Tom.
Hard to say. Right now, China's contracting. If we don't, and Europe does not expand where we can buy their products, their whole model, their whole economic model is based on exports. It's hard to say about China in the next few years. Right now, they're in a significant contraction as measured by their amount of imports. They import raw material to manufacture. That has been contracting significantly, and it impacts on grains, oil.
I need a number.
Can't give it to you.
They're gonna give us more money so that we can buy more stuff.
I don't know that. Again,
but see, the problem is they've been inflating it to make it look like they're doing good, and
I agree.
And they need
have
us to
higher, lower.
That's why we need to measure the real imports, and that's been going down, contracting. So I don't know.
Do we have a budget? I'm seriously. Are we going to go
within the
7 years
period,
without a budget?
Yes.
Within the 4 year period, I think we'll have at least one.
I don't think we're gonna ever have a budget again.
Marijuana status.
Federally?
Smoked.
Okay, but I mean, several states passed a you can grow it and you can use
Supreme Court challenge.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so you think it'll be a Supreme Court challenge?
Okay. Colorado, I think, did pass that marijuana. And
So
it
did
was,
Washington.
Yeah, and it is another manifestation of what I mentioned earlier, God giving us over to our sinful desires. And I certainly think drug legalization, as has casino expansions and everything else, been on the rise. Significant increase in 4 years.
Real quickly, DOMA, will it face a Supreme Court challenge in the next 4 years?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
No.
No? All right. And last, we got just a few seconds. Will the number of weeks that you can have an abortion get smaller?
No.
No.
All right. So we'll still be killing babies at our when we want to. All right. When we come back, 2016, who's going to run? Republican and Democrat. Next, live on the air.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone call.
Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, here's an interesting article that I just found on Red State. It's obviously a conservative voice. This says, here's what you voted for. Obamacare. Unemployment that will look more like 12%, $5 a gallon gasoline with a growing taxation on it, a continued kissing up to Islamic radicals and other tyrants across the globe, massive debt, more Supreme Court justices like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, personal freedom and liberty, no, personal property and prosperity, no. And then he goes on to say, the American people, you asked for this, voting public, you left the country in the dark for more than 4 years long. You did this to us. When these things come to pass, I want you, the American public, to remember that you were responsible for this devaluation. It is likely that Obama, you will point the finger at another when it happens, but sooner or later you're going to have to realize that the finger is pointing at you. It's so true.
Mac, what percentage of Christians voted? Evangelical
26%, which is the same as 8 and 12.
Isn't that
8 and 4?
Isn't that an embarrassment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, don't they feel any responsibility? These people that don't engage themselves in at least voting for the world and the nation that they're leaving their kids and their grandkids.
I don't know how they do it. All right, let's have a fun talk for a minute. Who's going to be 2 or 3 hot Republicans as we get into 2016? Because we're going to know these people in what?
2 years.
2 years from now? They're going to be at the Iowa State Fair?
Start tomorrow.
They've probably already been here.
Okay.
Ryan for sure will be one.
Okay.
I don't know if he'll last, but he will be the
Who we talked about.
Will Romney be back?
No, gone.
No,
He's
gone.
finished.
That's it.
By
That's
his
it.
choice or you and mine?
Doesn't matter.
No,
both.
Yeah, I don't think his family. His wife said this is
He
it.
ain't
I
doing
mean,
it
no,
again.
they're not going to do it.
You don't get another shot.
No, they're not going to.
Pat Paulson did.
How'd that work?
Exactly.
I'll tell you who is going to be talked about a lot, I think, in the next few years, and that's Marco Rubio. And I think the issue that they're going to think that he can help them with is the problem, the gap with the Latinos. Mitt Romney got a lower percent of Latino vote this time, and they see the demographics continuing to shift toward the Latinos. They think they've got to come up with a formula where we do not let the Latin vote go the way of the black vote.
I'll put money on it that Marco Rubio will not run for president of the United States in 4 years. He's up for re-election that year, and he is Cuban, and Cubans aren't necessarily viewed as Hispanic. So I actually don't think he would help that issue like something.
Chris Christie.
He's got to get reelected first, and I actually think he's the second coming of not Mitt Romney. He's the second coming of Rudy Giuliani in terms of presidential politics. He's a non-starter, but the media will obsess about it.
Rick Perry.
No. Again, I think he wants to, but I just don't see it happening.
Santorum.
Absolutely, probably one of the top contenders in Iowa right now.
Michelle Bachmann.
No.
Better not. Sarah Palin.
Nope.
Okay, name me a name I don't know.
Huckabee? How about Rand Paul?
Okay.
Today, if you had asked me what the battle's going to be in 4 years in Iowa, I think it is a battle between a strong social conservative, full spectrum, classic conservative like Santorum, and a more libertarian like Rand Paul. Okay. I think there's that, and then I think you put in a little Bobby Jindal in there. Okay. I think someone from Wisconsin, Walker or Ryan, would fill that spot.
Huckabee?
I have a hard time seeing it, but not impossible.
Okay, Democratic side. I mean, Biden's not going to run.
Please,
seriously,
please, Lord, let him. That would be beautiful.
I mean, I just can't imagine.
He probably will run, and we'll think we had it won, and then we'll get beat. I mean, that's my fear.
Well, he said that you're going to be voting for me in 2016 at a recent campaign stop.
I also don't think Hillary Clinton's a live round. Everyone talks about her, but I think by the time this election rolls around, I just don't think she's going to have it again, because how do Democrats get elected? It's all on appearance and culture and all of those things. And she's going to be a, no disrespect, a very older version of herself from 4 years ago. Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
The gentleman who was elected to the United States Senate last night in Virginia.
Okay. I'm going to give you something to chew on.
And I know who you're saying.
Yeah, because you were at breakfast this morning. I want you to think about ego, entitledness. I want you to think about it doesn't matter what I know, what I don't know. It's how cool I am and how cool I can make myself. I think one of the hottest Democratic candidates is going to be Michelle Obama. She will carry. It will be a third term. Look how the Democrats embraced Bill Clinton around Hillary Clinton. We all know Bill Clinton was impeached, for God's sakes. Michelle Bachmann with her legal degree. Michelle Obama with her legal degree, and I mean, they thought her husband as a community organizer could be president, and they were right.
It's not. I actually thought you were going down the road of Barack Obama for a third term, because he's Barack Obama, and we can. If I don't have to enforce laws on the books, why do I have to adhere to a term limit?
So what do you think about the Michelle thing? Am I just goofy?
I think it is a stretch, because I don't think she has the temperament to go through the ups and downs of a presidential campaign as a presidential candidate. Being the spouse is different.
I think she's thinking about it right now. I think they are going to start laying the groundwork for her candidacy, just like they started laying the groundwork for Barack Obama's candidacy 8 years ago. Now, maybe she'll take a year off, or not a year off, a term off, and she'll go run for senator in Chicago. Or maybe she'll go back now and become the senator from Chicago and follow her husband's. This woman believes that she could do this.
Why not? They elected a person that was in an insane asylum. Jesse Jackson Jr. was in a mental institution and got elected. I don't think that's ever happened before.
I think you're right.
Well, I don't. The tipping point's here, and I don't think 4 years, as bad as things are going to be, is going to be enough to probably get a good conservative in that period of time. So it'll probably be somebody like a Michelle Obama or somebody that you think is outlandish, like a Biden, but they'll still be in there, and this country will still hit. I mean, we're going to have to wander for a while, I think. I think we've headed into the wilderness, and I don't think in 4 years we come out.
Well, I would tell you that I personally would tell you from a biblical standpoint, I think we've been in that 40 years starting in 1973 with Roe versus Wade. I think that's when, if God is the God that I believe he is, I think that's when he went, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, you got to be kidding me. And that's when heck went to handbasket.
But we could still do some things in that period of time. If we're really in the wilderness, we can't get out of the wilderness.
No.
Once God says you're in the... See, we still got Ronald Reagan. We got bits and pieces of some change. I think we're into a period where we're to darkness now, and I don't think we'll see that kind of light shine on us again until we're allowed out of the wilderness.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you being here. Look forward to you being back. As always, all I can ask you to do is pray.